So here's a weekly schedule sample of someone. So again, this is just kind of setting up a basic schedule, that you can have for yourself personally, so that you can see it. You could have it up on your fridge somewhere where they can see it. It all depends on how you are as a person in regards to how best to deal with scheduling. But this is a good example of, somebody does 2-hour shifts, right? And so you're kind of planning it out over the week kind of thing. And as you can see, the shifts vary a little bit, and you can see that this particular week, Jason, for example, was coming in at 6 o'clock, and then, but then, later in the week was coming in at 5. So it adjusts to your schedule, and that's what it's all about. That's what the Cecil program is all about. You just got to make sure the employees are able to do it.
Yes.
And hire the people that are able to do it.
Exactly. Yep.
But that's the beauty of the Cecil program, is that you can do this any way you want, right? Within the employment standards laws.
Yeah. And nowadays, this particular schedule here was once again pulled from our books. There are a ton of different packages and software applications, pictures, etc. that you can get offline. Yeah. You can color code them. You can make them look as fancy as you want. And visual cues, I always stress to people, make it easier to interpret something, especially when you're looking at something that has a lot of different things in here. So you notice here that they've color coded Jason. It's really easy to identify when Jason's working versus, Alicia and Lillian. So these are the sort of things as far as for you when you are setting the schedule, also that makes it a little bit easier because you can actually visually interpret this versus reading, if you write all their names down and just write a time beside them on a piece of paper, using these sort of calendars that you can find online and doing different things makes it easier and better for everyone. You can print it off like Paul was saying and hang it off your fridge. It's nice and easy to read.
And Fernando, the technology is there now that, for me, for example, my scheduling for staff is I use the iPhone. Yeah. And what's so exciting for me about the iPhone is that any of my employees that have an iPhone now, I've actually set up a separate employee calendar within, right? So, so I could have a Fernando calendar that still shows up in my main calendar, but doesn't have access to Fernando's information, doesn't have access to my personal information, but Fernando and I share a particular calendar. Absolutely. And so what happens for me is that, I send Fernando next week's schedule, and what he does is he goes inside and says, okay, in the location section. That way I know he got it, and that means he approves.
That's a great idea.
And it's an exciting way to do it, because now, on my main calendar now, I have all my work stuff, but I can turn on and off Fernando into my calendar system, right? So this has been a great way to do it. The employees get it immediately. They can respond immediately, saying if they're available or not available. I don't have to phone them or text message them and wait for them. So, I'm always kind of, in my interviews, I tend to ask, do you have an iPhone?
Because you're a Mac person.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Fernando, we also have a calendar, right?
Yes.
So,
so this is a sample here that we're just going to bring in.
Really, it's just a basic month calendar, right? So what you can do here in this month calendar is that you could actually put people's schedule just right in this calendar. And what's important here about this schedule calendar is this is something that you can also use to send to your accountant.
Oh,
right?
Good call, yeah.
So what you can do here, you could just take a basic calendar. You would just type in Fernando, worked on whatever day, the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. He worked from 5 to 7. You stick that in. Your accountant already knows how much Fernando gets paid. Right? And they know those are four shifts of 2 hours, and they can do the payroll. Right? So you still have your timesheet that your employees sign off on and stuff, right?
Gotcha.
But this allows you to just do a quick email or fax over or whatever your possible setup, so that the accountant can have all that information, and then when they come, they can fill out the rest. The other component here is that, some people do it as an open calendar, right? So that there's that the employee at the end of the day, end of the shift, will just add this into this calendar, right?
Oh, gotcha.
And so that becomes the timesheet, and have the accountant at the end of the pay period come with a completed timesheet for the employee.
Right.
And then all the employee has to do is sign the bottom of that
Gotcha.
timesheet, right? Kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, so in this case, this is where I always tell my employees, hey, keep track of it in your calendar, your own calendars, right?
Yep.
And then before the end of the pay period, we do a quick check. Hey, what do you have for this day, and this day? If you start getting into a lot of conflict and stuff, that's when you just want a solid paper copy, right?
Oh, right.
But
Right.
if things are not being in conflict, then this computer system is a nice way to do it, just typing it up, right?
Yeah.
But,
That's great.
yeah. Again, it depends how all over the map you are in regards to your schedule.